I love it when it pops up. Y'all can't see it. Oh my goodness, it got very bright. Let me see if I can adjust this. Hi, I'm Barbara Benson, Swatch Barbernet. Hang on. Let me see if I can get this to adjust. It just got really bright really fast. Might have to turn the light down. Oop, it seems to be adjusting. Camera not available. They say it's being used, so it wants me to close, which we will not be doing, but I think it's not quite as overexposed as it started out. Hello, Celeste and Tracy. Happy Leap Day. Hello, Elizabeth. I'm so excited you're here. And Denise. We are here on a day that occurs only every 4 years, which is why I decided I wanted to do the live. And, last week, in January, we did it on Sunday. I thought we'd do Thursday again for people. And I think we might just do that, maybe switch back and forth between Sunday and Thursday. It just depends on how people like it. Again, we talked about this last time, and it sometimes people prefer it to be on a certain day because they don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, we've got Gail. Hello from Maryland. And we have a Debbie and a Deborah, Wisconsin, Kentucky. Both of those. Hello, Barbara. I'm glad to see you, other Barbara. And Elizabeth from New Zealand. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited. I'm always excited when we have people here from tomorrow. Which is essentially what's going on. When we got our Aussies and our Kiwis, I'm like, hello, tomorrow. And last month, we had someone from Japan. It's just so cool. So very cool. I love it, from all over the country and every. Hello, Crybaby. Thank you so much for saying you love my content. I'm glad you're here to join us. Celeste, it was your birthday and you had COVID. That is a double bummer. That is a bummer. I'm hoping you're feeling better and aren't experiencing any of those long tail effects that so many people have. Hello, Tanya in New York City. Wow, that's not that. What's funny is New York City doesn't really narrow anything down because there's a whole bunch of New York City. But I'm excited you're here. Hi, Arnetta in DC. My husband is just leaving DC. He's probably his flight leaves at 8:30. So my husband is currently at Dulles Airport, and he's getting on an airplane knowing that he's not going to make his connection because he was supposed to be on the airplane at 6 o'clock. Everybody got on the airplane and they're like, hey, everybody get back off the airplane. You're not leaving. So he's got a 10-minute connection in Atlanta, which anyone who's flown through Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport knows, unless you are literally leaving from the same gate, you're not making a 10-minute connection. So he will probably be spending the night in Atlanta, but he was in DC. Hello, Billy. Oh, Billy's from Houston. I'm so excited you're here. It's your first time. I'll just let you know that there's no structured format here, and we're going to talk about all kinds of wacky stuff. And I love answering questions, but if there's no questions, we just kind of randomly talk about stuff. Oh, hello, Susan. I can't wait to see you either. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm looking forward to going and chilling. I got to make sure I have something on my needles because I just finished Rev It Up and I do not currently have anything on the needles. I have something that I need to start. And honestly, I'm going to be honest with y'all because I am willing to wager that I'm just like a lot of y'all. I need to start something, but it is a project that has 6 mini skeins, and I am procrastinating winding the yarn there, and because I gotta set up my winder, I gotta set up my Swift, and then I gotta wind the yarn, and I just get annoyed with winding yarn because I just sit there and crank, and it's super annoying. So I haven't started on the project. It was last week. I did the swatch and I spent a good 4 to 5 hours doing math and trying to figure out the striping pattern, because again, it's going to be a 6 skein thing, and trying to get the striping pattern to work the way I wanted to do, and then writing out the striping pattern. I spent a lot of time just beating my head against the wall, and I finally got it figured out. And I was at the point, because I had to figure out the striping pattern. I would use Excel and like colored cells to see how it would work. And then I was trying to write it out. And as I was in the middle of writing it out, my husband just walked in the room and started talking to me and interrupted. And then I was just like, and I went, but then it was gone. And my concentration, he broke it. And it hurt. It absolutely hurt. Hello, my golfer. Yes, you're right. Arnett has got it. We talk about needles a lot for our first timer. We talk about needles a lot. I don't know why. Ooh, reorganizing yarn. That is a good thing to do, just to paw through it. Ooh. Oh, Susan saying you want yarn for the new pattern. So you know what? I bet they are going to have couple weekends from now is the Miss Babs pop-up shop in at a Good Yarn Sarasota, and they probably will have Laurel Falls. You need 2 skeins. It can handle most any color. I don't know how much variegation it's going to handle. Victoria says she has at least 14 whips, WIPs, whips on the thing. So I am very, very much a monogamous knitter. I have had to, learn about myself. And what I learn is I am easily distracted. And since I am a process knitter and not a project knitter, the fact that I don't actually want the end product very much, if I put something down and start something else, I will never come back to the other thing. I have a project that is 2 years old. That's a half knit shawl. And it will never get finished because of various reasons. But hang on, let me show you. Because I found it. I was organizing, Elizabeth. And when I say it's a half knit shawl, the shawl was planned to be 2 skeins. I knit. So this is how much of it I knit. And I put it down approximately a year and a half, 2 years ago. And now because of certain things, it will never get finished. I hit a point. I was trying to design a mystery knit along, and I hit a point, and I knit myself into a corner, and I couldn't come up with a transition, and I had to step away from it. And then, so I knit that much, never going to be finished. I wrote the pattern. It's at 8 pages now because it was supposed to be in an MKL. Super frustrating. And it's probably going to live there forever because it's not going to get frogged because it's mohair. I'm not going to frog like 400, 800 yards of mohair. Okay, who did I miss? Oh, yeah. Why don't I outsource the winding to my son or husband? I do not trust them. Plain and simple, they will figure out some way to mess it up. So yeah, Rev It Up is I think, is it Elizabeth? Did you finish it, Elizabeth? I feel like it's a really relaxing knit. It's got a lot of rhythm to it, and it's very simple. So it's definitely something that could be travel knitting or knitting for like being in groups and stuff like that. So Tracy said, I will be casting on a project that calls for size 15. Okay, so Tracy, so you're saying you're going to be casting on a project that calls for a size 15, 32-inch circular needle. You have a 40 and a 29. Which would be better? Is it worked in the round? Is the question that I need to know before I can answer that question. And it's bulky. Since it's on a 15, I'm assuming it's bulky weight yarn. Because if it's knit flat, then I would say I would go with the 40-inch. You'll just have extra room. If it's knit in the round, you cannot use the 40-inch. If it's knit in the round and the circumference of the piece is less than 40 inches, you cannot use a 40-inch needle. So that's how that's going to work. Victoria, I need a stockinette project, a textured project, a knit while walking project. I need one for every occasion. You know what? And it's just, you got to know yourself. You got to know, are you a person that likes to have multiple things on the go, or are you a person who really needs to focus on one thing at a time? And I just had to learn the hard way that I got to focus on one thing at a time. Yeah, Susan, I know you remember that. It is a bag of shame for me. And it lives in one of my favorite bags, which makes me sad because I never use this bag anymore because it's the bag of shame now. And it has a needle in it and everything. But that is just, it goes back to what I just said about knowing yourself. I keep People want mystery knit-alongs. I want to give people mystery knit-alongs. I have a very, very difficult time designing mystery knit-alongs, and I was trying to force myself to design a mystery knit-along, and that is where it got me, a bag full of shame. Okay, so Elizabeth says that she did knit Rev It Up. And if you have Elizabeth, it's AC Sparky, I think with some numbers on it, on Ravelry. Oh, I'm sorry if I outed you, Elizabeth, but she's on Ravelry. And she has a picture of her finished Rev It Up in Malabrigo Arroyo, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. It's so exciting for me when I see people post the pictures because, I have in my mind that I think it's going to work in certain things, but actually seeing the evidence that it works. And I think it really, really did well in Arroyo. And the drape is going to be different than the Rev It Up, than the Laurel Falls, but it's going to be softer. Okay. Barbara said at our guild meeting this week, they said to bring unfinished items we have had for a long time. That is a good thing. And, I've seen people who have traded like things that you're never going to finish and like go in and like trade them with other people. And maybe somebody else will either just frog it or finish it. You could call it that, frog or finish. Sorry, I need the water. That was loud. Hello, Robin in Florida. You're here with me. Okay, Elizabeth said, unless you magic loop it. Okay, yeah, we're back to the size 15 needles. Then the pattern calls for a 32-inch. The thing is if it's in the round, yes, you could conceivably magic loop it, but with it being bulky yarn, and if it's in the round, if it calls for a 32-inch needle, you only have, and you have a 40, you only have like an extra 8 inches. And for me, that's a lot that I have an issue with. I don't have enough slack to do because I want a lot of slack when I'm doing magic loop. If I was trying to work on something that was supposed to be 32 inches in circumference and I was going to magic loop it, I would want a 60-inch cable. But that's because I'm fussy. Good evening, Wendy in Troy, Michigan. Okay, it seamed. So Tracy said, we have an answer. Tracy said that it seamed, so it's knit flat. So yeah, I would go with the 40-inch. It's going to give you more room, especially with it being, and I'm going to say why, especially with it being bulky yarn, trying to cram 32 inches worth of bulky stitches onto a 20-ish, something in the 29 range, you will run the risk of things falling off. You could lose stitches. I always err on the more, but then again, most of my needles are in the 40 to 60-inch range because I just like extra. I like having wiggle room. Robin hates MKALs. A lot of people love them. I don't like them. Hello, Val, Coral Springs, Florida. Thank you so much, and thank you for liking my channel and content. Mystery quilt projects. I can't even imagine a mystery quilt project because the amount of outlay for the financial outlay for enough fabric to do a quilt is really epic, and I can't imagine doing all of that. I mean, it's one thing to knit a big shawl and not know what it's gonna look like, but a whole freaking quilt? No, sir. No, sir. Um, oh, Elizabeth, I am so sorry. I I put it on the only option it gives me is I can have it conservative, let YouTube decide, or frequent. And it says in parentheses, this one makes the most money and this one makes the least money. And I put it on conservative. I put it on the smallest number of commercials I could possibly have it do. And it will not let me do no commercials. If I could let it, if I could, I'm gonna next time I do a live, I'm gonna look at the buttons and see if I can demonetize it entirely, and that might be something that I can do. Um, I don't know if it gives me that option. I'm really irritated with YouTube, but you know, they're the big dog on the block. Okay. Celeste says maybe that's why I've always had trouble with Magic Loop. I keep leaving myself only a couple inches of slack. Oh, oh, yeah. So, yes, if you have trouble with Magic Loop and you only have a couple inches of slack, that is definitely you need enough you need enough cable, right? So that when your project is in the round, you have a good loop this side and a good loop on this side. I would say a loop that's at least like that big, which let's see here. I can't measure this. What am I trying to do? This is ridiculous. I mean, we're talking, I would say you need a minimum, because I think that's around probably 6 to 8 inches on either side. So you need like if I'm magic looping a pair of fingerless mitts, which is going to have like a 7-inch circumference, I'm going to be using a 32-inch needle. If I am magic looping a hat, I can probably still do a 32-inch, but yes, the smallest thing I will magic loop with is a 32-inch. I frequently am magic looping on a 40-inch cable. So yes, that would make me having too short is going to really make you struggle. Do, 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 do. Hello, Kay from Pennsylvania. Mark the bass player. I have too many things on the needles for a Kay. Yes, you don't need help. You know, a lot of times I feel like the knit-alongs and the mystery knit-alongs are there to help people, inspire people who don't know what they want to do. When I worked in a yarn store, you'd be amazed at the number of people who walk into a yarn store and say, I just want a project. And then you spend 45 minutes trying to help them figure out what they want to knit, because they don't come in knowing all they know is they know they want to knit. They know they want to do something, but they don't know what they want to do. That's why kits are very popular. And I think that's why both knit-alongs and mystery knit-alongs are very popular. Okay, so Susan is saying only way to go no commercials is to go premium. And that's on your guys' end. That's the user. But I'm going to see if I can demonetize it. I managed to lose stitches on my bodice today on my barber cords as I didn't tie them. Oh no! I'm so sorry, my golfer. I have a video on Magic Loop. Do I have? I think I have a video on Magic Loop. Magic Loop is one of those things that people either like love or really despise, and you just gotta find out where it is in your wheelhouse. Celeste, yeah, give it a try with a longer cable. And I'd love to hear maybe next month when we talk, I'd love to hear if using a longer cable helped you with whatever your issue was. Okay, Deborah, I know you don't knit socks. I do not. Or garments. You are correct. I tried to cinch up the ribbing on a sock using elastic thread. Would you do so vertically or horizontally? That's an awesome question. So, if you're gonna oh, so you're talking about, like, applying, like you would do to fabric, like a band of elastic? If it's like a band of elastic, I would do it horizontally. Yeah, if that's what you're talking about. If you're talking about, like, the thread, you can get elastic thread, but I don't know how you would do that. Um, yeah, loose cuff is bad. I'm sorry you're running into that. Susan says I'm the best. I did. I converted Susan. Susan was a long time magic loop denier, and I managed to convert her. It's just, it's got to click at some point. Got a video on short rows? I do not have a video on short rows because I don't have enough of a grasp on short rows to make a video. I mean, I know how they work in general. I've designed like one pattern with short rows in it. Um, but short rows have a level of complexity that because they're mostly used for shaping, I've tried because people started using short rows to make crescent shaped shawls, and I could not. My brain doesn't think that way. It involves a lot of math, but like geometry, and it just doesn't because you're making wedges and it's how to put all these different wedges together. But I understand better the making triangles to change the shape, like in bust darts. Um, but that's not what you're doing. You're not trying to make bumps. You're trying to make a flat thing that's just made out of triangles. I do not have a short row. I mean, maybe I can make a video on short rows, like simple short rows, but they get really complicated really fast. And I don't have enough information. I don't have enough knowledge about the subject. I have a video on, you can look through a book on short rows that a friend of mine wrote. Let me see if I can pull up the magic loop video. Okay, this is a blast from the past. February 28th, 2017. So, there is the magic loop video. It is from 2017. So, that is super duper old. Looking at the thumbnail, also my hair is pretty bad on the the color in it was growing out fairly substantially, so not my greatest look. I do like those glasses though. So that's something funny that I run into all the time. I go back and for some reason, somebody will comment on an older video and I have to go back and look at it to figure out what in the world they're asking me because they'll say like, "What is this shawl on this?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I got to go back and rewatch it." And I'll pull it up and I'm like, "Oh wow, I really like my old glasses. I wonder if I can find those again." Like those were great glasses. So many glasses. Oh, my phone's buzzing. Nope. Magic wheel Trish. Trish is like magic loop changed my life. That is fantastic. Ooh, oh no, stop it. If you get a softer elastic thread, you could hold it double with sock yarn when you knit. Yes, that's what I was wondering. But it really feels like this elastic onto this cuff is we're talking about something that's like an after the fact kind of thing. Yes, because if you wanted to add elastic, the best way to do it is to do it with carry along thread while you're knitting it, also knitting the ribbing at a smaller gauge. So it's in line, but I don't know why I was assuming this was a trying to fix a problem that already existed. Okay, I just really needed water, y'all. Okay. Elizabeth, we have multiple Elizabeths in here. Okay, there we go. So Elizabeth is recommending that Norman on Nimble Needles, say that 6 times fast, has a video on all kinds of short rows. So that's a good one. Thanks for the specific recommendation. Okay, my golfer, is it a bad idea to put a drop of fray check after weaving in the ends and cutting the little tail in order to prevent it from showing up on the right side? It is not something I have ever done, and fray check is not a product that I have any experience using. So I cannot comment intelligently on that idea. whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. If anyone else in the comments has experience with fray check, because I got there's some people with like who are talking about quilting and stuff might have opinions on that. That's one of the reasons I love the chat, because y'all know stuff that I don't know. I'm afraid that I don't think I've ever used fray check. I do not. So I don't have an opinion on that. Trish, by the way, can I just say I'm loving your badass hairdo? Thank you very much, Trish. I've been working towards like this. I got it cut, you know, I went in and it was like at like my bra strap, and then I got it shorter and shorter, and I was working towards, because this was kind of my end goal. There's one more step, but I'm not sure if I want to take it. Uh, it would be having both sides, and then essentially it'd be a mohawk. I don't know if I want to go that far, but I have been moving towards this haircut, but I had to take baby steps because I went from my hair and it was like at my bra strap dry and like 3 inches below it wet. I couldn't just go directly from that to this. It would have been, I would have like gone into shock. But thank you, Trish. I am enjoying it. I hit 50. Y'all have seen it. I hit 50 and just went done. I'm done with doing what other people think I should do. I'm just having fun. I appreciate you saying it's badass though, because I don't feel like a badass. Oh, Short Rose will watch the video. Okay. Oh, excellent. Deborah, I gave you an idea. Okay, so Robin Fremer is saying fray check leaves a stiff area. I've used it for quilts. So, and Susan is also saying fray check dries hard and she would never use it on yarn. And Susan is a quilter as well. So that's two on fray check. So if you're super concerned about your ends coming out, one thing is to make sure you're leaving a long enough end to weave in. And I do a minimum of this much. This much for me is somewhere, it's like, it's 6 inches. I know that when I do hang loose, it is pretty much exactly 6 inches. I don't know what your wings that is for you, but it's a minimum of 6 inches. That's how much I leave. If I am using a slippery yarn, a plant fiber, like a cotton, a linen, a flax, a silk, a tencel, any form of plant fiber or a slippery yarn, or a like really like a super bulky yarn, I will leave more. I'll leave in the 8 to 10 inches range, because if you're working with plant fibers or slippery fibers, you need to weave in more. The bulky yarns tend to work their way out, and it has to do with the proportion of how big around to how long it is. So I leave more than that. And also, especially with both bulky and slippery yarns, if it is a plied yarn, what I will do is unply. So I have 2 strands and weave them in opposite directions, so that if one of them works their way out, the other one doesn't. The odds of it going sideways. The other thing you can do is, if you're afraid of it poking around to the front, when you're weaving in your end, you do not want to split stitches. But at the very end, if you have a fine enough needle, you can actually kind of position the needle so you're actually running the end of the yarn through like the middle, like stick it between the plies and run it along just a little bit. And that'll also keep it trapped in there. I don't know if I explained that one correctly. It might be something I need to do a video on. Weaving in ends. There's so many different ways to do ends, weaving in, and so much of the discussion around weaving in ends focuses on how to make it as efficient as possible, how to make it as easy as possible. And I often find that the quick and easy methods are also not as secure. I am very tedious I focus on tedious when I am weaving in ends, but that's because I don't want them to come out. I I'm opinionated about weaving in ends, but that's just because I'm a control freak. See, Arnetta is also moving on fabric. Thank you, Susan. I'm so glad you like my hair like this. Yes, your hair looks awesome, Trish. I've always liked the asymmetry to it. Also, um, I'm very excited. I'm working on I'm gonna go get, I think, a couple more piercings because now you can actually see my ears. I've spent so much of my life with invisible ears, and I want to get dangly earrings. I actually did. I went to an art show in downtown Sarasota this past weekend, and I got a pair of dangly earrings because I've never been able to wear dangly earrings because they get tangled in my hair. But look at these. Aren't they beautiful? This is an artisan, and these are like porcelain, and it's got the gold on it, and the gold is fired into it. So isn't it pretty? So I'm going to wear those soon. In case you're wondering, the name of the Glazed and Confused, and it's all Art Deco. All her stuff's Art Deco, so it really, really spoke to me. It Glazed and Confused. She got Instagram and everything. So that was I love going to art shows and buying stuff because I love supporting our artisans, our local artisans. Well, local-ish. They're mostly Florida artists. Um, okay. Russin joins and pull yarn ends to the center of the plies. Yes. Yeah, duplicate stitch with the elastic yarn. Yes, I would definitely. That is also a thing. My only issue with that is how to pull it tighter so that it because if you just duplicate stitch, well, I guess I don't know. It's me. My sock brain isn't kicking in. What is my preferred way of weaving in ends? I use duplicate stitch is essentially what I'm doing when I weave in ends is I duplicate stitch. I do it from the wrong side, or if there isn't a wrong side, you just do it. And what I do is I'll get to a solid section and I'll do like 4 or 5 stitches, duplicate stitch going in one direction, and then jump up a row or 2 and then do 4 or 5 stitches in the opposite direction. And that's the changing direction. So it's like you're going like this and you duplicate stitch in this one and go up and then duplicate stitch going the opposite direction. Because if something is going to snag and pull out, the odds of it snagging, pulling out, and then turning the corner and going back the other direction because it's only going to be yanked in one direction is going to save you. But yes, I do duplicate stitch. I do it in row, and a lot of times it's especially since I do a lot of lace, it's just going, okay, we're just gonna freeform it. And I'm never doing like this has to be a diamond or it's like I'm just gonna go to wherever there is space for me to weave this in, is what I do. Thank you, Recycled on Wednesday. I thank you. I literally just got it cut on and it was scary. So I got it cut last time and she scissor cut this and it only took a couple weeks before it was growing out too much and it started trying to curl and it was just like poof. I had like a little Brillo pad. So she actually used a, a trimmer with a foreguard, which is literally the first time anyone's ever used. Well, I mean, I've had this trimmed up before, but having it here and like shaving a substantial chunk and the buzzing right next to my ear, it was really weird, but it was fun. And my husband's out of town. He doesn't know I did it. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, Tracy, you said, yes, please. My videos are informative. What are you yes pleasing? Because I've talked about a lot of things and I may have already forgotten. Did we talk about a weaving in ends video? Let me write that down. Let me see if I've done one. I taught a short class on it once. Nope, I have not done a weaving in ends video. Huh. I figured nobody would want to watch it. Um, so there we go. Oh, you guys liked my earrings. Yay. They're hooks, Robin. They're hooks. I wish they were hoops, but they're not. How short do I cut the yarn? I cut it flush. Once it's woven in, okay, so I weave in the ends, then I block, and once the ends have been woven in and they're blocked, I cut them flush. You should not be able to see them at all. So I mean, every once in a while, one pokes to the front, but then I just pull it to the back. I use a crochet. I'm like, come back here. I'm a bully. My weaving in ends class was Michael's favorite class. You know, everybody has interesting opinions. Did you guys watch my swatch lab where I did my swatchy swatch for the Laurel Falls? I was excited that I decided to do the dark swatch to show how different, because one of the things you talk about is color choice when you're making a color choice, because you got to think about your yarn choice, but you also have to think about the color choice and how that's going to interact with your project. And dark yarns are challenging because dark yarns can obscure detail. And so that's why I did the two separate swatches. I did it in purple so you can see that the cable is just way more visible in the light color. Now it's still cool and it's still viable in the dark color, but it definitely does not pop the way it does in the light color, which I thought was an interesting visual. Yay, Cindy liked the swatch lab. Swatch class after class. I like swatch labs. I like swatch labs because I like doing it, and I think it's good to have the information out there. They are not like when I do my analytics and I look at the YouTube information, they don't get the highest number of views, but the feedback I get from y'all, you, my subscribers, those of you who are, the people I really think about when I am making these videos, seems like y'all really like them. The things that get the higher view counts are things that have like a more general appeal, and I can look at the percentage of viewers and what percentage of viewers were subscribers and what percentage of viewers were not subscribers. And when you get into these higher view counts, there's a lot of non-subscribers. And I really want to continue to do the content that I know the people who consistently watch my videos. I don't want to chase the viral. I don't want to chase the just random people, because those aren't the people I think that I'm trying to communicate with. Because my entire goal of this channel has always been to use it and build community and use it as a way of, because Ravelry is like the primary way I sell my patterns. The internet is how I know you guys, and it's my way to connect with customers. So it's more important to me that y'all like the videos than it's a video that's going to get 40,000 views because for some reason I hit the right search engine optimization sequence and it's suggesting it to lots and lots of people who click on it and watch it for 3 minutes and leave. And that's another metric, is what the average percentage of the video is viewed. And so the swatch labs don't have as many views, but the percentage of the video that is watched is substantially higher. So that makes me know that it's y'all watching it. And that's what I do. I don't know if y'all wanted to hear that kind of stuff, because it's annoying that I have to think about it. Yeah, Swatch Lab is a lot of information, Mark the bass player. It's just me talking a lot. Okay, recycled on Wednesdays. What kind of project would be best for dark yarns? It's more knowing what type of project is going to be challenging with a dark yarn. A project that has a lot of fine detail on it is going to get lost. So like this that I just showed you, the one so on the side we have 1/1 cables, but in the center we have a bigger cable. So if you want to do a cabled project, it's better if you're going to use a dark yarn, it's better to pick out a cabled project that the cables are beefier, that they have more presence. Um if there's like fine detail, fine texture, like if I had done this whole swatch in the darker color, this texture stuff, you probably wouldn't. I mean, it would be you'd be aware that there was a texture there, but you're not gonna see the individual. I mean, honest, it's just knowing that it's not lighter yarn shows it off better. But something like so I did it in this. So this is the Rev It Up. And since it's a bold and really raised motif, it pushes through the dark color. Um, it, I mean, and then on the other side, something that's garter stitch, something that's stockinette, that's just fine. Typically, lace works okay in darker yarns. Again, as long as there aren't a lot of fine details to it. So going towards larger motifs and larger things that can really push through that dark color is is what you're going to want to be aware of. Oh, trying so Tracy, trying to be better at searching each project, or is that a autocorrective swatching? Because I'm all for swatching. Um, I'm going to tell you something, Celeste. So I did a little screen catch of you saying that you would like to see the sock yarn, and I sent it to my contact at Miss Babs. I said, just thought you might want to see this comment and know that there's at least one person out there that wants this in sock yarn. So I did my best for you. Um, Robin, I love it when you talk about yarn characters and how they match the patterns. It is very much. I am so itchy today, guys. I am so sorry. Um, I think about yarn probably way, way, way more in detail than any normal person does. And I hope that most designers really put a lot of time and effort into thinking about how the yarn is going to work in their patterns. And understanding yarn, I think, is really one of the cheat codes for having more success in knitting and understanding why certain things are successful and certain things are unsuccessful, learning from those things and moving forward with them. I love yarn, and they're also different. And I'm always learning because every time I think I've got the handle on something, yarn people invent new yarns. And it's like I don't even know what to do with that. Um, Hey, Darlene. Yay. See, y'all, this is what I thought. This is just confirmation. Y'all love the Swatch Lab, and that makes me so happy. And this again, because y'all, you're coming to my live. Y'all are the one, and my subscribers that are out there watching this on rerun. I appreciate y'all. I know not all y'all can be here, but these are the people that I'm making the videos for. Yeah, the autocorrect to searching, Tracy. It always does that. Okay, Robin is I'm planning on designing a sweater that I'm going to call Pathway Between Skylines. So I want to knit it in a dark blue, but it has lace and cables. Am I doing myself a disservice? You need to swatch it. And since you're designing it, what I would recommend to you is that you need to swatch your different um, motifs, or just a repeat. When I'm doing something big, I will have a swatch that's like this because I want to see how everything interacts. And if you can do cables, but the cables little tiny 1/1 cables are not really going to show up. You want 2/2, 3/3, 3/2, however you want to do it. But a bigger cable is going to perform better in a darker yarn most of the time. It also depends on your yarn. again, all of these are in general because every time I think I've figured something out, somebody knits something in just an absolutely gorgeous thing that I would have never thought would have worked, and it works. So it's amazing. Um, the lace should be fine. Just you might you might want to swatch those cables in the darker yarn. Um, okay. Do, 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 do. My explanation of how the metrics work. Mm, I don't know what I did, but I'm glad it was helpful. Hello, Rekim4. Thank you. I'm glad you like Swatch Lab. I like Swatch Lab. I need to do more Swatch Labs. I need more yarn. Tell me what yarn you want me to swatch. That's a good thing. Because it's figuring out what yarns need to be swatched, and I really enjoyed working with this new yarn from Miss Babs, and being able to do the Swatch Lab for this new yarn was great. But there's a lot of yarns out there that are new to me that I have never used. So there's a world. Valeda. So Valeda, aka Val, can you show us how to weave in ends via duplicate stitch? Thank you in advance for consideration. I have written that down, weaving in ends. Also, that is when my April 22nd at 9 o'clock is when my next appointment with my brain doctor is, just in case y'all needed to know. It's a telehealth. So I have a weaving in ends written down. We'll see if we can get a weaving in ends video in March. I don't do a lot of tutorial videos because there are so many people out there who do really, really good tutorial videos like Berry Pink Knits. I feel like they've got the bases covered, but I'll show you how I do it. It's not like, I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but it's the way that works for me. Okay. And I need to do more swatch labs. Maybe that's what I'll start knitting when I go to knitting. Okay, so you're planning on a merino silk. I'm currently planning pashmina. So pashmina is merino cashmere nylon. Doesn't have any silk in it. Not that unless they've changed it. I mean, I've used pashmina before. Pashmina was like the OG. And pashmina is a lovely sport weight yarn, and that's going to make a difference. Dark yarn and fingering weight is going to perform differently than dark yarn and sport weight, and pashmina is a sport weight yarn. But it is a MCN, which the cashmere is going to soften it. It doesn't have the best stitch definition. Like it's like right into mid-range. So it's not going to have really poppy cables, but it can still, I mean, pashmina it's one of those really good kind of middle of the road, I don't want to say middle of the road because it's a very nice yarn. What I'm talking about is in like the yarn structure. It's like a nice solid, not really high stitch definition, but not low stitch definition. It does cables. It's not like the best at cables, but it doesn't suck at cables. It's a nice mid-range performance yarn. It doesn't have like a specialty that it does well, because its specialty is just being really, really soft because of the cashmere. So Robin says, I have found many designers have stopped putting schematics in their patterns. Like, are you talking about like for a garment? They don't put schematics in their garment? Okay. When I teach my pattern classes and things like that, it's when I teach my blocking class and I talk about blocking garments, the number one thing you do is you block to the schematic. And I tell people, if you have a pattern for a garment that doesn't have a schematic in it, get another pattern. I mean, that is something that, I mean, there's no pattern writing police out there, but if that is a vital piece of information that you need. And if you do not have a schematic for a garment, you have a incomplete pattern. Now, schematics for like I don't do schematics for shawls, and cowls and things like that, things that aren't like fitted, things that aren't garments, you don't really need a schematic. But you have to have a schematic for a garment, and I would consider a a garment pattern without a schematic to be an incomplete pattern. It's just you have to have it for the blocking. You have to have it for the sizes and everything. So, yeah, I wonder which designers are doing that, or if maybe they're newer designers who don't know that that's required. I don't know. That bothers me. I might get some flames for this because again, I'm not a garment designer, so maybe this is a trend. Which, if it is, that's unfortunate, and I would like to know why they think it's no longer necessary. But yeah, that's super weird. Um, non. Okay, wait a minute. Let's see. Have I ever worked with unspun yarn and make a really fun swatch? Um, you talking about like the roving yarns? Victoria asked, have you ever worked with unspun yarn? I feel like that would make a really fun swatch lab or boucle. You know what? Boucle would be funny because I really don't know what boucle is going to do. I'm going to write that down. There's a, I could probably get a hold of some boucle from La Bien-Aimée fairly easily. Um, so the unspun yarn, like the roving yarns, uh, no, I haven't. I've never really knit with it. I don't particularly care for it, is what that really comes down to. Because if it doesn't have any spin on it, it really, it really doesn't stand up to anything. But now I have used like single ply yarns, and that might be a fun thing to do. But I've written boucle down. Okay, I'm trying to find a non-itchy wool that isn't merino. Itchy is so subjective. Itchy is so subjective. Um, I like blue-faced Leicester. I don't find blue-faced Leicester to be uh to I don't find blue-faced Leicester to be itchy personally. I'm looking over here and I'm going to the yarn page of because I don't specifically know a DK. Let's go to DK. Let me type in blue-faced Leicester. Okay, so there's never mind. You're not gonna like that. There's something from there's a Dovestone DK from Baremu, which is 50% BFL, 25% Wensleydale, and 25% Masham. I have no idea what those things are. That's a British company. West Yorkshire Spinners has a DK that is 100% BFL, which is blue-faced Leicester. Yeah, so that might be an option. I like BFL, and it is not merino. Let me see if I can find. No. Here is. That is West Yorkshire Spinners, DK, Bluefaced Leicester. And this is all British, so I don't know if you can find someone who carries it here. And again, I don't know if it's soft or not. But that's when somebody else might have a suggestion of a wool that is non-itchy, but also not merino. There aren't like you can find Cormo and you can find Rambouillet. But again, some people find it too rustic. Okay, Will Trish, I really need to start swatching all those yarn samples Ms. Babs sends. Yes, that would be nice to have a sample of each of them. Okay. Golfer, my golfer, I have not heard of the sea knits bamboo needles, so I have no info, but hopefully somebody else might. You know, RE Kim 4, somebody commented, it might have even been you, on a thing about wanting to see substituting yarn and because doing the holding things double. So um I was thinking about doing a swatch lab with holding double. But the general rule of thumb, I can tell you for holding yarn, like holding yarns together, is okay. And if y'all have been here with me for quite some time, you've already seen this. This is my mnemonic for remembering yarn weights. So my pinky finger is my skinniest finger. It is also my skinniest yarn. It's fingering weight. We're ignoring lace weight for now. Fingering weight. In the United Kingdom, fingering weight is called knitting weight. Okay. If you jump to your middle finger, you get DK weight. DK literally means double knitting. DK weight is double the thickness of knitting weight, of fingering weight. So it could be called fingering weight, it could be called sock yarn, it could sock weight, it could be called knitting weight, but it's all the skinny one, fingering weight, 400 yards and 100 grams on average. Then you double it, you get DK weight. Okay. If you double DK weight, you get up to a chonky, you get Aran weight. Again, this is all UK terminology. So knitting, double knitting, Aran. Americans came in, we couldn't leave well enough alone. We invented two different types of yarn weights. We invented sport weight. Sport weight falls in between knitting and DK. And we have worsted weight. Worsted weight falls between DK and Aran. If you double sport, you get worsted. Okay. So if you have a lot of fingering weight and you want to hold it double, you need to look for DK weight patterns. In general, swatching is going to be your best friend because, again, there's a wide range of thicknesses in all of these categories. But in general, that will get you in the right ballpark. You might find that you could pair a sport weight with a fingering weight and get to a worsted. Like a sport plus a fingering might get you to the gauge you need for worsted better than doubling sport, because depending on the weight of the sport, when you double it, you might get somewhere above, like into a heavy worsted. Again, all of these things. If I wanted to double, if you double worsted weight, you're going to get into a bulky arena. But that is in general how I look at if I'm trying to double to get to things. I don't know if that is going to be helpful. Okay. I was talking and I got behind. Let me see here. Yes. Short rows, busts, darts. You just got to have a schematic. You got to see the schematic. Dory did it. Hello, me. Welcome, Dory. I'm so glad you've joined us and that you found us, and also that you have a tiny fishy emoji. I enjoy the fishy emoji. It makes me happy. Yeah, roving yarns fall apart. Recycled on Wednesdays. As a longtime beginner, slow learner, I don't really know how to evaluate pattern quality. So the important thing is to find, like, one thing that can be helpful is just simply finding a designer who their instructional style, the way that they write their instructions, kind of works well with your learning style. Because all pattern, if you give 50 designers and ask them to write instructions for a very simple pattern, all of those patterns are going to be slightly different because everybody has a different language. Everybody has a different voice and a different style. So a lot of people, what they do is they find a designer that they like and that they click with, and they just stick with that designer. And that's one way to do it. Another thing to do is, if you find a pattern that you like and you go and, like, you're on the Ravelry page and you go and look at the designer's entire portfolio and they may have a free pattern or two or two where you can download that free pattern to get an idea of what their writing style is like and what their instructional style is like and if it meshes with you. It's kind of the free sample that designers put out there. I do teach it, and maybe I should do a video on. I don't know. I don't know if I can do a video on evaluating patterns because I don't. I think y'all know that I try very hard to keep everything upbeat and positive. Like if I'm gonna I do my book looks and I don't call them reviews because I don't feel, especially if I'm just looking through the book for the first time, if I haven't knit multiple patterns out of a book, I don't feel that I am qualified to review it because I don't know how much effort. I mean, I haven't tried the pattern, I haven't done it, but I like to look through it and I will talk about what I like about it. I'm not if I end up if a company sends me a book to look at and I don't like it, I'm just never going to talk about it. If I get a product that I don't care for, I'm just not going to talk about it. I'm not going to say anything negative. So, um, so trying to make a video on analyzing patterns, um, how to tell if a pattern is good or bad. I don't know that I can do it because I'm not going to want to say that anybody's patterns are bad. They're just different and not to my taste. So, and that's why, but I am a little more fast and loose on these lives. And that's why I said if it doesn't have a schematic, all I can say is if it was a garment pattern and it didn't have a schematic, I'm not going to knit it unless there's an extenuating circumstance. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to it's unfortunately learning what makes a good and what makes a bad pattern is a lot of getting bit, getting burned. Um Oh yes, wool, BFL, yak, camel, all of those are good. Yak is funny because the very first time I blocked anything, it was a merino yak silk. I was like, I wet blocked it. I was like, ooh, so that's what a wet yak smells like. Like, uh, um, yeah, BFL does not show wear like merino. It's not as soft. It doesn't have as short of a fiber. Its micron count isn't as fine, so it doesn't pill like merino does. But on the flip side, the micron count is what makes it soft. But I do not find BFL to be scratchy. There we go. Oh, thank you, Victoria. Stay away from Wensleydale and Marsham. So we only want Wensleydale if it's cheese, right? Cracking toast, grommet. Sorry. Oh, Cindy, you use your hand for the counting? Yeah, that's what it took me the longest time to figure that out because I never understood. I find that mnemonics, doing that kind of thing really helps me remember stuff. I mean, now I have it because, it's my job, but for the longest time, I found yarn weights to be incomprehensible. Um That is an excellent suggestion, Cindy, about patterns. Read people's comments about the pattern on if you're on Ravelry, go and read the comments that people have put on their own project pages, and that can tell you how is good. Okay, my golfer. I will be doing my first folded hem on a sweater. Like to know if it has a tendency to curl up. I am afraid that I don't even know what a folded hem on a sweater is. So if there's anybody in the chat who can answer this question, let me know because I don't even know what a folded hem is. Yes, Elizabeth, looking at completed projects to see if knitters can complete them. Yes, that is a good thing to do. Paula, I'm so glad you liked Swatch Lab. Fit comments, yes. Ravelry has just got so much great information on it. It's kind of like sitting at a knitting group and talking to people about their experiences with the patterns. There we go. Celeste got me. I don't know what a folded hem is. I see Victoria is backpedaling a little bit here. I want to slightly edit my comment. I'd stay away from Wensleydale and Masham if you are sensitive to wool. Otherwise, they are lovely. Good walk back there. I totally understand where you're going from. Again, itchy. Like I have issues. Like I did a pattern in a yarn that I absolutely fell in love with from a US company called Ross Farms, who raises like endangered sheep, and it's very, they don't dye it, it's only the natural colors, but it's like single sheep, like literally a single sheep makes, they take it, and so that's how you get the different colors. And I fell in love with the farm and what they did and what they were trying to do to preserve these endangered breeds. It is minimally processed yarn and it's not dyed, and I'm allergic to lanolin, and I could only knit on it for short periods of time before my hands would swell up and I would have to stop. Then I'd have to come back to it. So it ended up taking me forever to knit, but I wanted to support them. So a lot of those more rustic yarns, I don't have a lot of experience with, because unless they are fully processed and dyed, I can have allergic reactions to them. And a lot of the more breed specific yarns, what they're going for is just to enhance and let people have that experience of this breed specific yarn. And if it hasn't been fully scoured, and I can't knit with it, so I'm afraid I can't opine upon it. What about cashmere? Valeda, Val, what do you want to know about cashmere? I missed something that scrolled by, so if you could elaborate. I love cashmere. I'm all for cashmere. Debbie, what do you mean by folded brim for a hat? Woohoo! I love the chat. No, it's over here. I don't know what side you guys see it on. For me, it's over here. um, so oh, very cool. Dory did it. Doubled brim on neck of a sweater. That is cool. There's so many things that you can do in knitting that I've never even heard of. And a lot of it's because I don't do garments. So there's a lot of technique and elements and things that people do with garments that I don't know anything about. I can't know everything. You can be a niche subject matter expert. So does anybody have any more specific questions that I can answer? Anything we did talk about needles. We did. I was gonna say we haven't talked about needles yet, but we talked about length of cable needles. So we got that needle discussion in. We can't really have a live without at least one needle discussion. And we talked about yarn, we talked about powder. We're pretty much covering it. Pretty excited about that. There's my little bag. I don't want to lose that. And now I have this. It's Mark the bass player's fault. Now I have this shopping page open for Blueface Lester from West Yorkshire Spinners, and I love this color. And now I want to do that. Oh my gosh, it looks gorgeous. Just what I need. More yarn. Okay. Robin, I just made a long scarf for my brother with pure cashmere from Mongolia. It handled well and had great definition. Cashmere is a wonderful fiber. It is a little more delicate than your wools. It drapes beautifully. It doesn't have the memory that sheep wools have, but it's still beautiful. And depending on the spin and the how tight it is and how many plies there are, you can have a whole range. Cashmere does tend to have softer visual, soft stitch definition because of how it's spun, because they want to spin it so it's as lofty as possible, so it's really really soft, but that's not like a requirement. So I'm so glad you had a successful endeavor with pure cashmere. It's so nice. Your brother must love you very much. Mark the bass player. I have a great knowledge of so much, but I want to admit when I don't know stuff because there's always more I can learn. I think there's always more that everybody can learn. I still don't know. I just, I used to participate in medieval reenactment. And in the medieval reenactment, one of the things I did was manuscript illumination, where if you look at a Bible, old, like medieval Bibles that they have the paintings in them. Well, I would do that. And they have like all the little details and everything. I did that. And I can't draw, so I would like trace it and then paint it. And I did it a good bit, but again, I never felt like an expert about it. And I was approached by someone to teach it to other people. And I was like, but I'm not an expert at this. I've only been doing it for a couple of years. I don't really know what I'm doing here. And the person who was asking me to teach it, who was much more experienced than I was in this organization, gave me a really interesting thought. Because what she said to me was, you don't have to know everything. You just need to be one step ahead of your students. And that really stuck with me because I'm like, okay, I don't have to know everything about this subject. I just got to know more than you. I got to know more than the person sitting in the chair. No. So if they know 0 about it and I know 3 about it, then I'm a couple steps ahead of them. And I'm always willing to learn more and try to share the knowledge that I do have. But that really, when she told me that, it really stuck with me. Okay. Oh, swatching mystery yarn that you inherited without a label. So I'm going to write down mystery yarn just to see if it prompts, because I have a couple thoughts about that. Because I was thinking about doing a video and I always lose the tool. I was thinking about doing a video about using a WPI tool and how that can help you with mystery yarn. So that is a possibility, but also swatching. The thing that's really tough to do with mystery yarn is figure out what the fiber content is. That's a really significant challenge. But you can usually figure out the weight of it fairly easily. So there we go. Hi, Sunshine. Sunshine is from Japan. I have been great. And you? Okay. Okay, I'd like to have a tip for having a neater slip knit every other round there. So if you Google that, there are a lot of different people who have tried to make neater slip knits, and it's not something I've experimented. I might need to do an experimentation on that because there are people that do things like tug it and do this and do this. The thing about slip knit is that slip knit, I believe, and I could be wrong, was essentially created. The concept of slip knit was created by Barbara Walker because Barbara Walker did not like the existing left-leaning decrease. She just thought it took too much time and she wanted a way to do it quickly. And so she created the slip knit through the back loop. Slip knit, prior to slip knit being a thing, you had what's SKP. I'm going to type this into this chat. And it's slip knit pass. So if you find that you have significant tension issues using slip knit, you might want to try SKP. And SKP and slip knit are 100% substitutable. They create a left-leaning decrease of the exact same structure. And all it is you slip knitwise, knit the next stitch, and then pass that slip stitch over. just like you're doing a slip one, knit two together, pass slip stitch over. This is slip one, knit one, pass a slip stitch over. It creates it's slip, knit, pass. It's 3 steps. Slip, slip, knit is slip, slip, knit through the back loop. And for some reason, Barbara Walker was like, this is faster. And then everybody started doing it. But SKP is creates the exact same stitch structurally, directionality of it, and everything. So again, if you're struggling with slip, slip, knit, try SKP and see if that improves your tension issues. I don't know if that helped you, Victoria. Hey, Paula. Well, thank you for joining us, Paula. You may already be gone, but you can always watch on reruns. Yeah, mystery yarn. Mystery yarn's rough. I'm so glad you caught us too, Dory. Yeah, one step ahead, Mark. You just got to be one step ahead. Which made me think there's a gotta be one step ahead of the ta-ta. Oh my goodness, there was a musical I was in that had a song. Or is that Aladdin? You gotta be one step ahead of the blah blah. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I went in my brain. Okay, so Ruthie uses SKP. There we go. It's really I use SKP is something that I used in my Big Yarn Beautiful Lace knits because when I got into the really bulky yarns, I found that slip slip knit I had tension issues with it and created a bumpy decrease. And so in the heavier yarns, I almost always use SKP instead of slip slip knit. They are literally interchangeable. Um, they are interchangeable because they create a decrease that's of the exact same thing. It's not like when people say that knit two together through the back loop is the same as slip slip knit because it's not. Knit two together through the back loop does create a left leaning decrease, but it creates a twisted left leaning decrease, which in some contexts is not an issue, but in certain contexts, it is going to be visible. So just anyone who tells you that you can willy nilly substitute knit two together through the back loop for slip slip knit, it is not necessarily an accurate statement. Is it from Aladdin? I thought it was from Aladdin. It was. I was like, my brain just kind of went monk. I don't know. My brain kind of gets twitchy. So sometimes I have the name for a pattern before before I even have the pattern. And like, so I don't know if, and I haven't mentioned this on any of my promotional stuff for Rev It Up. And this guys, you guys saw Rev It Up, right? Rev It Up. I'm going to tell y'all because I tell y'all all my secrets. Rev It Up. I did that because it's reversible, but also it is the name of a song by the Stray Kids, which is a K-pop band that I like, but it's not even really a song by Stray Kids. It's a song, it's one of the solo songs by one of their members whose name is Felix. And it's not just that it's a solo song, it's a solo song that was only ever performed at their Japanese tour concerts, and his song has never been released like as a song that you can go and listen to like on Spotify. So it's an incredibly obscure reference. So this is actually a song reference. Rev It Up. It's if you go into YouTube and type in Rev It Up Felix, you can listen to the song if you have any interest in that. And it was very specific. And it was there's a reason why I picked it. I picked it because Rev It Up was the rev is reversible, but specifically Felix, who is the member of Stray Kids, has a very non-binary clothing. He likes to wear skirts. He frequently dresses in a very androgynous way. And this was very specifically designed to be a non-binary um, option. This is not, it's not masculine, it's not feminine. It is for anybody of any presentation, and I thought it fit really well with because there's one video, it's the best video. It's called Get Lit, and he's wearing a baseball cap, like a trucker hat with a tiara, like a straight up glitzy, like legit tiara on the trucker hat. And I love people who make bold and interesting fashion choices. So that's why this got the name that it did. Um Oh, I won't be in Japan anytime soon. If possible, we might. So, 2025 is going to be an exciting year for me. Next year, it is my 25th wedding anniversary. My son will graduate from high school, and my husband will turn 60. So it's a big year for us, and we may be able, but we also might be moving cities. So I don't know if we're going to be able to, but we might be able to go to Japan next year, but I don't know because so much is happening. I wish I was going soon, but I don't think I'm going to. Celeste, love the naming stories. The Lost Boys. Kim Four called them the Lost Boys. That, you know what? That is that is a fairly accurate statement. The Stray Kids, Lost Boys, that totally works. I know Stray. Okay, so actually, so you're young. Look, so tell them I've got the light stick. I got the new light stick, and I got I got Puppy M, and I got the Libet, and I got Wolfchan. I've got three skazoos too, and they have their little. So yes, it's. Oh, and actually, so my phone, my son got a Stray Kids phone case. I know it's. Oh, and I dropped something on the ground. I don't know what it was. It is very silly, and I've got like a couple of their albums are here, like right there. That's Five Star, and there's another copy of Five Star up there. You know what? When you like something, it's fun, and it's fun to support. I just really like their music is a lot of it, but they're also fun. Um, but oh, I started talking about that because there's another K-pop band that I like. It's ATEEZ, ATEEZ, and they have a song that there's a line in it that I really think would make a great knitting pattern name, and it's I've got time, but it's not for you. I just love that. Actually, it's I've got time, but it's not for you, bro. I think I'd leave the bro off because I think it'd make a great knitting pattern name because of the people who, when they see you knitting, are like, oh, you should knit this thing for me. And when you're like, no, they're like, well, you like knitting anyway. So what does it matter? You should knit this thing for me. And the response is, I've got time, but it's not for you. It's for me. So I was thinking I need to name, I need to figure out what pattern, what kind of pattern would need to have that name. So this is one of those things. Um, as I said, sometimes I have the name before I have um the pattern. Like there's another Dune shawl I want to make, but I haven't figured it out because I want to make a Dune shawl that the name of it is it's by will alone I set my mind in motion, and it would have to just be fiendishly difficult. So that something you need the mentant to figure out. So there's that. And the new Dune movie, the second part of it's coming out soon. Um You saw a custom built guitar with a K-pop design. That's cool. Thank you, Dory, for coming. Thank you for coming. Yeah, and we're coming up on an hour and a half. So if we don't have any more questions, we're to the random side discussion stuff. Yeah, is by will alone I set my mind in motion. That is from the Mentent mantra. But it would have to have like noops or something in it. I don't know. It would need to be something pretty fierce. Um, uh, but the thing is if I design something like that, then I need to knit it, and it could be a challenge. You know what? I do love Salvador Dali. That's interesting. My favorite Salvador Dali pattern, painting is the one with the burning giraffes with the drawers. It's like giraffes with drawers, and they're on fire standing in the ocean. And I never understood why the giraffes were on fire standing in the ocean with drawers coming out of them, but I don't know what about that one. I just really like it. One of your first shawls had noops. Bye, Susan. Thanks for coming. Something with lace and cables. You're right, Robin. It's got to have all the things. Lace and cables, probably beads. We would need beads. Beads would definitely need to come into play. The melting clocks are very cool. And I definitely think this is one that the color, it would need to be like a ready rust color, the color of spice. It would need to be that. I don't know. Okay. Thank you all so much for coming and joining me on this leap day. I hope you enjoyed your bonus day this year. And I really appreciate everybody hanging out and chatting with me. If you haven't clicked the like button, I'd appreciate it if you'd think about it, because that just will make YouTube suggest it to other people. I love that y'all have answered questions that I was unable to answer, and as always have stimulated me to think about lots of different stuff. It's one of these woohoo. I'm like a pinball. I know, but one of these days I'll get focused. But that's a big fat lie. I don't think I ever will at this point in my life. Yes, good leaping night. Thank you, Ruthie and Kim. Thanks everybody for coming, and I hope you have a lovely evening. And I will see you tomorrow in March. Y'all have a wonderful night. And okay. Bye-bye. Now I'm gonna push this button. Ooh, doo, 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 and